Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Tools of the Trade. And today we're going to talk a little bit about maintenance. I have a door here the holes here have been kind of stripped out over a period of time from people lifting up on the door handle. And since this is a historical door, obviously we don't want to get rid of it, we just want to repair it. So we'll take a shimmy here, put in these holes. This way, we can fix the door. So if you're working in the history field, or you're thinking about it, maintenance is a very cool part of the field to get into. So if you're good with working with tools, then I would suggest maybe getting looking into the maintenance side of things. And it's a good field to be into because every day something is different, especially if you like working with tools. Tell them, say maybe perhaps you like working with metal and you still want to contribute to the history field itself. This is a good opportunity for you to do that. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other tools that you could possibly use in the maintenance field. So I will be with you guys here in one sec. Okay, so got my door fixed. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the other tools that you might need if you want to go into doing any kind of maintenance or maybe perhaps ground maintenance for a historical site. So when it comes down to maintenance, you're the guy that pretty much keeps everything going and moving and running smoothly. And you're also probably the guy that's going to be doing a lot of the inspections of the site and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more than just changing out light bulbs or anything else like that. You really got to have a keen eye on what needs to be fixed, how to fix it, as well as what tools do you need for the job. And today, we're just going through and doing some preventative maintenance. So I have a checklist of every room, looking at light bulbs, looking at different things here. So when it comes to maintenance, maintenance is a great job. And it gives you an opportunity to not only work inside, but outside as well. Another important tool for maintenance tool is a tape measure here. And tape measures, you have to learn how to read one. And as long as you can read one, you can do fractions. So yeah, if you like to mess around with different kinds of tools, hand tools, as well as, thinking of how to fix something, this is a good field to be in. Now, a very important job to do as far as like maintenance could be somebody who does ground maintenance. And ground maintenance, obviously, that's pretty much self-entitled. It is exactly what it is. That's where you go out, you can mow the yard, you can go ahead and take and cut some of the trees back. Basically, you're the caretaker for the landscape. If you like working outside and you like working with various tools outside, ground maintenance may be a good choice for you as well. And you got to give your hats to those ground maintenance workers because to keep the landscape of that historical site looking smooth, but they also try to keep it looking to that appearance as it was for the site they're representing. So for an example, if you go to Gettysburg, a lot of that's cultural resources, but you have ground maintenance that takes care of it in the end. Other aspects of the maintenance field, especially in a historical setting, if you're on the inside of a building, some of the maintenance issues that you may have to worry about, obviously plumbing, electricity, so you may want to consider working on electrical aspects of it, of the position. If you tear one exhibit out and you're rebuilding another exhibit, obviously carpentry skills are going to be necessary. You may have to paint walls, you may have to patch walls, you may have to cut trim. So there, when you're cutting trim, you got to really know your angles and have the right tools for the jobs on that. So, you know, whether it be a chop saw or maybe a radial arm saw or maybe even a planer. So on the inside of a building, aside from, you know, doing electrical and plumbing, carpentry skills are necessary. It's cheaper for a lot of the smaller institutions like us to try to do as much in-house before we actually bring contractors in. Some other aspects with maintenance could be, again, we'll focus on the outside. You're mowing one day, well, those engines need to be maintained and taken care of. Although some of them you pretty much put the oil into, but you got other with the small engines, but you got the spark plugs you got to take a look at, carburetor issues. So you really got to know your way around engines as well. And then if there's any kind of like metal work that needs to be repaired, knowing how to weld could be a useful skill, especially arc welding. Or if you got to cut pieces of metal and you don't have, you know, maybe you don't want to use a grinder for it, but maybe a acetylene torch, that might be another aspect of the position too. So when it comes down to maintenance, really, you're looking for somebody that has a lot of skills and a lot of know-how in order to make the operations run smoothly behind the scenes. And this is a lot that many people, when they come to your institution, don't always think about, is all the maintenance that goes into it. So if you're good with your hands, you're good with thinking fast, and you know how to fix things, I promise you, you'll never have 2 days that are exactly the same. Now that I've done a couple chores around the building this morning, let's talk a little bit about what it is and what types of maintenance that you may be performing at a historical site. So, this is a good way for you to contribute to the mission statement of whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in the history field, but at the same time, it's a good way for you to basically keep things running behind the scenes. So for some of the popular tools that I've used here, and I pretty much have done a lot of stuff here at the Shippensburg Historical Society to keep this building maintained, as well as keeping our yards looking good. So aside from mowers and weed eaters and things like that on the outside, on the inside here, you know, some of the most popular tools that I use, hammer. There's always nails that need to be put in or taken out, or some of these old doors, every time that you open and close, the hinge pin tries to pop up, or in the case of trying to, you know, fix a door, for me to put a shimmy into it, the hammer comes in handy. Definitely have to have a knife. I use a knife like this probably a couple times a week. And then some of the other tools that I use, between screwdrivers, modern screws or Phillips. Most of your old-timey screws are the flatheads. And we have a combination of mostly flatheads in this building here. A pair of channel locks. Now, I did some plumbing after I got out of high school for several months, and we had a pipe downstairs that burst. So the first thing that I pretty much did was shut the water off. And then after that, me and another board member came in here, and we basically rerouted the water using some of the existing pipes, but we went ahead and said, you know what, we don't have bathrooms on the second floor, so let's go ahead and just cut all that out while we're down here fixing, you know, the main water line that had busted. So you may need pipe cutters. And these are great for getting into tight places. And of course, like I said, you're going to need to learn how to read a tape measure. Whether you're helping to install exhibits, or maybe you're looking into, you know, how long something needs to be, you got to learn how to read this. So maintenance is a great field to work in, and when you can apply your skill to a history field like that, um, the possibilities are endless. I know when I worked in the state of Maryland, not only was I a ranger historian, did tours, interpretive duties, scheduled people in museums, but I also was the one who basically took care of the outside. So a fallen tree, I had to have certification to run a chainsaw, so that was a tool that I used. Digging iron, post diggers, as well as other tools that relate to that profession, and it is very rewarding. So check it out.